Okay, hello, and welcome to part one of my journey to New York City. So here is the backstory. I was born in New York, in Queens, but I did not grow up here at all. My parents moved when I was like 6 months at the latest. And they moved to Atlanta. Actually, we lived there for I think like 3 or 4 years, and then we moved to Florida. And so I grew up in Florida. I was in Florida from the time I was like I said, 3 or 4 until my 20s. So I grew up in the Daytona Beach area, a couple of different places throughout Port Orange, Daytona Beach, and Palm Coast. Um, and I will tell you this. Florida, I can understand why it would be very appealing for some people. It doesn't get very cold for starters. So if you prefer heat all the time, probably the place for you. When I was a kid, especially. Now it's a little bit different. There's a little more seasons. But when I was a kid, especially, we used to joke that Florida has 2 seasons, and that's summer and Christmas. That's it. I actually have photos of me on Christmas Day in flip-flops and sunglasses, like outside with my 2 brothers. So it does not get very hot. I even think that there was one Christmas where we went to the beach, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyway, so yeah, I grew up in the Daytona Beach area, and I obviously went to high school there, and I did some college as well. I went to community college first. And then I had a scholarship. I was never great at school, but I did have a scholarship that I think paid either 50 or 75% of my college, and I flunked out of college. I've had multiple jobs. Like my first job was McDonald's, and then I went and worked for my dad. My dad has always been an entrepreneur, so I went and worked for him when I was like a teenager, and he used to have a business that sold CS tear gas, which is like what they use in like hostage situations. Um, and so I used to package it for him, and it was the worst. Like they come in these little, like he had different sizes, but the smallest one is a handheld that goes on your keys, and it comes in like this leather pouch so that you can attach it to your keys. And I used to have to stuff it into the pouch, and the pouch is like super tight. It like comes like completely flat. You have to like squeeze it open. I did this so much. You have to like squeeze it open to like release the, I don't know if it was actual real leather or faux leather. And then you just have to like shove it in there, and sometimes it would explode, and it was pure torture. It was so bad. And then like even if it didn't explode, it's like it gets on your hands just from you doing it, and it's like if you just oh my god. It was so bad. Like this stuff is crazy. I remember actually they used to test it because like there's like there's like pepper spray, but CS tear gas is totally different. It's CS because if you get a styrofoam cup and spray it into the cup, it eats through the styrofoam. Like this stuff is so serious. And actually I had friends who, of course they were guys, when they knew what I was doing, they were like, we want to test it out, and like sprayed each other in the eyes, and were like crying for hours. So anyway, so I worked for my dad for I don't remember how long it was, probably a year or two. And then I where did I work after that? And then I got a job at a clothing store as an assistant manager. It was called Body Shop. Not the Body Shop, the smell good stuff, not that. It was also called Body Central. They had other locations called Body Central, so maybe people know it better as that, but mine was called Body Shop, and it was just a like little fast fashion, like a step up from Rave, but not much, a very small baby step up from Rave. And I worked there for quite a few years, and then I think I like quit a couple of times and then came back. I think I would like come in and out, but it's hard to remember completely. But then at some point while I was going to college, I started working for my dad again. That's actually one of the times that I quit. I started working for my dad again. My dad had just started working at a new company that he started with a business partner, and they were selling webcams. This was long before phones had cameras on them. And they would sell webcams that it was the first one that would follow you around the room. It had a sensor that followed you. And I became their office manager. And while I was working there, they just had like investors who paid for like all of the payroll. And so like I could work as many hours as I wanted, and then I got time and a half for overtime. So I would just work and I wouldn't go to school. I stopped going to college because I was like, I could be making time and a half if I just stay at work. And so I would just stay at work. Like I would work crazy hours so that I could get paid. And so I flunked out of community college. And my dad was livid. Oh my God, he was so mad. And then I started working at a restaurant, Buca de Beppo. They're not in Daytona anymore, but they still have locations. So I started there as a host and then eventually became a server there. And then I decided I wanted to go to nail school. So I told my dad, I was like, I want to go to nail school. Will you pay for me to go to nail school? This is all in a span of just a couple of years. It's not like a long time. And my dad's like, yeah, I'll pay for you to go to nail school. And he had somebody that he knew that went to one of the nail schools in the area, but I didn't want to go to just any nail school. I wanted to go to the elite nail school in the area, and the woman who actually created the curriculum for nail schools, like she actually is the one who decided for the US, helped decide, I should say, what the standards would be to be able to graduate from nail school. I wanted to go to her, Cindy Lee's nail school, and which of course is like, I don't know, 2-3 times more expensive than the one that everybody else went to. But that's where I went. And I graduated. I was not very good at nails, to be honest. I just wasn't that great, especially at acrylics, which was huge at the time. I wasn't very talented in that area, I'm gonna be honest. And I got a job doing nails. I was like the third shift, like the way this place worked, I don't know if this is how all of them work, but I didn't like pay for space and have my own clientele and everything. I worked into whatever clients that they got, and I was like the third one to get something. So they had to be triple booked before I would get anything, or I would get the ones that somebody would like give to me, basically. So I was making like nothing, but I was still working at the restaurant as well during this time, and then that girl fired me. We had a whole nother backstory on that I won't even get into, but she fired me, long story short. And then I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna get another job in nails. And again, I thought my dad was going to murder me. He was like, you've only been doing nails for 3 months. I just paid for you to go to school. What do you mean you're not going to do nails anymore? I was like, yeah, I don't like it. I've been like touching people's feet. I don't want to do that for a living. So trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And I think I told my dad, I was living in my own apartment at the time, but I told my dad, I was like, I just need to like rethink things. Can I move back in with you? And he let me, and then I just didn't really like do anything for a period, and he's like, okay, you can't do that. Like, you can't move in with me and just like not do anything. So I think that's when I went back to the clothing store. So I was working at the clothing store and working at the restaurant. And then my best friend, I was at her house one night, and she was like, oh, I've been looking at colleges. She's kind of like flighty like I was at the time. And she's like, I've been looking at different colleges and stuff. And she's like, I think I'm going to go to school for interior design. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I'm like looking through the catalog for the vocational school that she was going to go to, and just flipping through the pages, like, you know, browsing. And I see fashion design in there. And I'm like, I didn't know you could go to school for fashion. And she was like, yeah. I'm like, I don't think I ever knew that. That's interesting. And she's like, oh my God, you should go to the school with me. Like, we could both go to school together. That would be amazing. And they had a location in Orlando. So I was like, maybe. So I like put some more thought into it. And then eventually I told my dad, I was like, I want to go to school for fashion. And he was like, I'm not paying for it. Like, you have no clue what you're doing. You don't know what you want to do. Like, where did this, I've never even heard you say that before. Like, where did that come from? I'm not paying for you to go to a whole college when you flunked out of the first college that you had almost completely paid for. You went to nail school and then you quit. Like, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Don't worry. I'll get financial aid, whatever. So we were applying for the school. My friend and I decided we were going to move to Orlando together. We were both working at the restaurant together that we worked at. So I was going to quit my job at the store. I think maybe I was thinking about transferring the store too, but I wasn't sure. But I was just going to transfer locations of the restaurant because they had one in the area that we were going to move to. We were looking at apartments. And my friend, during this period, she had gotten married and then she was getting divorced at this point. I was in her wedding. I like got her and her husband together in the first place when we were in high school. Like, I was at her house. She had a crush on him. And I was like, don't come back in this house until you kiss him. And then they got together and whatever. High school sweethearts got married. And then they were getting divorced. So we were going to move to Orlando together, go to college together. And then all of a sudden she like stopped answering my phone calls. I like couldn't get a hold of her. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So finally get a hold of her one day and she was like, I have good news and I have bad news. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, me and Donnie are getting back together, her husband. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, so can Donnie come live with us in Orlando? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, well then I don't think that I can move with you to Orlando. Like, I'm really sorry, but we want to try to like make things work. And I honestly, at this point, like I should probably ask her how I reacted to that. I want to say that I was supportive, but I think maybe I wasn't all that supportive in the moment. I was probably really upset because it was like my dream was going down the drain of going to this college and stuff when I felt like I had things worked out. But it must have been okay because we're still friends. And so anyway, so that was that. I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do now? Can I afford to live in Orlando by myself? Probably not. And just trying to like work through that. And so I think I was just in this period of like trying to figure out my life. And then one day she called me and she's like, okay, I have good news and I have bad news. She used to say this to me all of the time. And I'm like, bad news first. And she's like, okay, I'm moving. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, me and Donnie are going to move to Las Vegas. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, Las Vegas? And she's like, yeah, Donnie really wants to play poker. And I'm like, that sounds like a terrible idea. And she then said, the good news is I want you to come with us. And I was like, no. And she's like, just think about it, blah, blah, blah. And at this period, I'm working at the clothing store again. I'm working at the restaurant as a server, and I'm living with my dad. And at this time, I don't remember why, but my older brother had also moved back in with my dad for whatever reason. So we're both back at home like we're children, and we're both in our 20s. And so I'm telling him, I'm like, oh my gosh, Kelly's gonna move to Las Vegas. She wants me to go with her. I was like, and like, what the heck am I gonna do in Las Vegas? And he was like, just go. And me and my brother don't even talk anymore. So this is like one of the best conversations and one of the most positive things I can say about him right now. He's like, just go. Like, you live at home with dad and you have a serving job and a job at a clothing store. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to not like it and then come back here and be in the same place that you were to begin with. And I'm like, he's actually got a really good point. And keep in mind, I have been dying to get out of Florida. Like, I hate Florida. I hate it. I still hate it. I can't stand Florida. I say it's where dreams go to die. It's a very slow-paced world. And so I decided to go. And my dad wasn't happy, I'll tell you that. And so I moved to Vegas with my best friend and her husband and packed up my Civic and drove across the country. Luckily they had an SUV, so they packed up their SUV. I could only bring what I had could fit in a 2-door Civic. And we took 3 days to drive there. We had very little money, like very little money. And oh my gosh, that's a whole nother story. So the week before we were going to move, we had found a house online. I had never been to Las Vegas in my life. Like, I was moving there without ever having gone. But we found a house online that we were going to rent out in North Las Vegas, which, if you know Las Vegas, if you don't, it's not a good part of town. When somebody says North Las Vegas, it's probably not a great place. Like Northwest Las Vegas is different, but North Vegas, don't. So anyway, found this house. We were going to do that, but they required that you saw it in person before you could sign the lease. So we flew to Vegas the week before. We got the cheapest hotel we could because we didn't have any money to begin with. We did not save very well for this. Cheapest flight, cheapest hotel we could find in the area. We were going there to see the house, sign the lease, and secure our jobs. We were told that we were going to have a transfer from the restaurant that all three of us actually worked at. We were going to have a transfer to the restaurant that was on the Strip. So, and our manager told us, yep, everything's good, blah, blah, blah. Great. So we go first day, we go to go see the house, and it's disgusting. It's like the smell of cat urine. Oh God, I'll never forget it. It was like we opened the door and it was just like whoosh, like, and there was carpet all over the house, so it was just covered in pee. It smelled so bad. The area, we were terrified just driving there. Like, I was like, I cannot believe we're gonna live here. Oh my God, it was awful. And they had 2 dogs. We really needed a house. Oh my God. And we were just like, we can't sign this lease. Like, we can't live here. There's no way. Like, we just can't do it. So we were really upset about that. We're like, okay, we're moving in a week. What are we going to do? And then, that night we went to the restaurant and, the manager comes out and he's like sitting at the table with us. Super nice guy, like super friendly. I don't remember his name, but just the nicest guy. And he's like sitting and talking to us and he's like, look, just like I told your manager, I just can't fit you guys in here right now. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I have servers that want to be full-time and I can't get them full-time shifts. Like, I can't bring on more people right now. It's just not a good time for me to take any transfers. And we're like, oh my God, like, we don't have a house. We don't have jobs. We're moving here next week. What in the world? And then we find out that our hotel that we booked is in Primm, Nevada, not Las Vegas, which is like 45 minutes outside of Las Vegas. We had to like drive through the desert for like 45 minutes. Oh my God, it was like the worst trip ever. We're all just silent in the car, so sad. Like, oh my God, like, I just remember it being the most devastating car ride. And then we get to the hotel or whatever, and my best friend like called her mom to tell her what was going on. And I don't even think I called my dad because I just was like, I was just so deflated. I just wasn't ready to hear anything, you know? And I think already my dad was like, what are you doing? What are you doing moving to Vegas? But we were going to go to college there, by the way. The school that we had a location in Las Vegas. It's not like I was just moving there to do nothing. I was going to go to college. So, anyway, we all go to bed. Next day, my best friend's like, okay, we're going to work this out. We're going to figure it out. Today, we're going to go find apartments. We're going to go find a job. Like, we're doing it today. We were leaving, like, I think we had one more day and that was it. We were going to leave and we were supposed to move the next week. So the restaurant had another location, luckily, in Vegas. It was just in the northwest part. And so we went to that location and we talked to them, and oh my gosh, Pat was the manager. They called him Paisanos. The managers were called Paisanos there. And he goes, look, do I really have the room for you? No. Do I have room for all three of you? Probably not. But I can't say no. Like, if you guys need the jobs, like, if you're going to be moving here, we'll make it work. We'll figure it out. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just had a moment because I loved Pat. He was one of the most amazing men I've met. And he passed away from cancer not too long ago. And I actually used to call him Uncle Pat. He was just an incredible person and so full of life, and he used to like always dance. He used to do the stanky leg in the kitchen at the restaurant. And actually when I started my clothing brand, when it was still called Linked, actually that's a whole nother story, but that was the first version of my brand. He was one of the first ones to buy one of my sweatshirts, and I hadn't seen him in years, and he bought one, and it was, oh my God, I miss him. Anyway, so he made room for us, and then we went to see a couple of apartments, and we found one that was 2 bedrooms, tough for 2 dogs, you know, but we were like, you know what, we're just gonna make it work. We figured it out. We were able to sign, I think we signed the lease before we even left, and flew back home, got all of our stuff together, drove across the country. It took 3 days to get there. And how long is this video? 21 minutes. I will do a part 2, and that will be all about Las Vegas, and then that will go into me coming to New York. So thanks for coming along. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. There's always twists and turns in my life. I'm telling you right now, my life has been one big story is what it is. So I'll see you in part 2.